What is going on, Military Cashflow family? Today, we're going to be talking about reducing your household expenses. It's a highly talked about topic, and we're going to get into that. We're going to help you try to figure out some ways to reduce those expenses and bring you some extra income, right? So the number one way to reduce your household expenses is through house hacking. And we got the multifamily house hack, right? And that is essentially if you buy a multifamily home, you live in one side and you rent the other side out, or you rent any one of the other units out that you have, that decreases the amount that you need to put towards your mortgage, right? So, for example, if you look at one of our older videos, we had Mincy Wong come on and she talked about how she was able to buy a duplex, live in one side, rent the other side out, still cash flow. And then on top of that, she was able to save her entire BAH. Just think about that for a second. If you put yourself in that situation, what would how much differently would your life be, or your financial picture be, if you're able to do that, right? So that's just one example. Buying a duplex, triplex, or a quadplex, living in one side and then renting the other side out. That way you are reducing your household expenses. Mike, you got anything?
Yeah, and guys, remember, when we talk about multifamily, typically it's going to be a more expensive property. And a lot of people are concerned with the fact that, hey, I got a VA loan, an FHA loan. How can I afford, depending on your market, this big, massive duplex or triplex? Well, understand, guys, if you have multiple units and you only need to occupy one in order to use this beautiful loan, well, then all of the leases or all of the other income in those other units can actually increase your purchasing power. That's that sweet spot there. So now you're saying, okay, I got this beautiful VA loan. Let me, if I was going to buy a house myself, I could only afford 200,000. But now that I see this quad is available and they're all leased out, I might be able to increase it to, let's just say hypothetically, 250,000. And just like Dan mentioned, now we're potentially living rent-free or mortgage-free in this situation as well. So it's a way that you can really compound your investment when you're looking at house hacking and increase your opportunities as well.
How about number two? So we got number two, the single family house hack, right? So this is often when we present the multifamily house hack, a lot of people say, hey, my market's different. We don't have a lot of multifamilies in my market. They might be out on the West Coast, or they might be, far down south where there's not a lot of multifamilies. Or if there are multifamilies, they might be in areas that they don't want to live in. So a lot of people are like, how can I still take advantage of this while living in a nicer community, or just one that fits my market, right? And how you can do that is with the single family house hack. And give you a couple of examples. You have a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, right? And it's you and your wife. You guys can, live in your house and then just rent that one room out. You can rent that to a roommate, obviously reducing your household expenses. Or you can even Airbnb the home out on the weekends, or whenever you go away for a long weekend, right? That's an easy $200, $300, $400 every single time you rent that out, right? So these are just different ways that you can use the single family home to still take advantage of this house hacking method. Mike?
Absolutely. And guys, we're going to see this a lot more common with the younger generation, right? There's a lot of, we're millennials, but there's a lot of whatever, super millennials. I don't know what they call the next generation behind us, right? But people are living together, right? They do the community living. So it may be two couples living together. It may just be, again, with being in the military, a bunch of single soldiers living together, because they're just trying to find a way to reduce their expenses. So understand, the more rooms that you have in a single family home, the more opportunity you have to actually house hack. And obviously, yes, it depends on your comfort level with bringing different people into your home. But if you are open to that style of investing, it can be one of the quickest ways to reduce your most expensive item, which is your housing expense. And to be quite honest, this is how I started off with house hacking in my investment journey. I'd actually bought a house. It was a VA home loan, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. But I also had a little bonus room up top. So it was a 4-bedroom. And I was actually able to rent out 2 of the rooms to some of my friends. And I always kept at least one rented out, which made my living expense essentially about $300 a month for the first 2 years of my investment journey. So it's a very powerful way to really kick it off if you're just now getting started. Now, with that being said, that leads us right into number 3, the additional structure. Now, what do I mean by that? A lot of times when we look at homes on Zillow or on the MLS, we'll see single family homes galore. That's great. But sometimes there's something called a frog, front room over the garage, or a mill, a mother-in-law suite. And these are basically separate compartments, completely separate from the primary living space that sometimes have their own bathroom, their own closets, their own bedroom, all of these things that you can essentially have somebody live in there and never have to see them, right? Maybe you share a kitchen or maybe you don't. Well, that's beautiful, but what about if the zoning actually allowed it? What if you put an RV in the backyard? Now that's a full house in itself, right? It's on wheels. Okay, that's cool. Another thing that's popular is tiny homes. You can just tow that sucker in there and slap it down with the septic tank and boom, now you have another space, right? So as long as space permits and you are willing to put in the creative approach to it, all you need is a place for somebody to lay their head. And if you're able to have something like a kitchenette, a shower station, a bathroom, all these other things so somebody can live in complete solitude essentially into that unit, then you now can add an additional structure to increase your income and decrease your expenses. You got anything for that, Dan?
Yeah, man, that is extremely powerful, especially the fogs and mills that you talked about. Those are very, very popular in Savannah, very, very popular in Savannah in my market, right? But you can't find them because they're usually not listed under multifamily homes. They're usually listed under the single family homes, and you have to do a keyword search for mother-in-law or, mother-in-law suite or front room over garage, things like that. And once you find them, a lot of times you'll notice that they've sat on the market for a very, very long time. And if that's essentially a multifamily home, if you will, right? Because you're able to literally house another person and they're able to pay you rent exactly like Mike said, without you really seeing them. So you can have your own space, they can have their own space, or you can Airbnb that space, kind of using doubling up on some of these things that we're talking about. So that's just something to consider. Definitely make sure you do that keyword search, or when your realtor is looking up single families and you're mentioning these things, they just got to do a keyword search and you might be able to find those. So
absolutely. Which leads us into our last one. Guys, if you are real estate investors, like most of you are, or you're savvy enough to have a side hustle of some sort, we have to use our home as an office at some point in time. And by us using our actual living space as an office, guess what we get to do? We get to tell the IRS that we need a tax write-off. Now, that may not sound like a big deal to you, but let's walk through this as a quick example. Let's say that we have 1,000 square foot home, and 200 square feet was blocked out for office space. That means 20% of the entire home is used as office space. That now means we get to write off 20% of the mortgage, of the utilities, of the internet, of the repairs and maintenance. You can quickly see how that can add up if your mortgage is anything over $1,000, if your utilities are anything over $200, so forth and so on. And that is a monthly annual expense, right? Holistically, but a monthly expense that you get to reduce by that amount. Now, that is extremely powerful. And when we know that the biggest expense that we have is the household expense, the question is, how many ways can we reduce it? So if you have a multifamily and if you have all of these beautiful things and you're bringing in additional income and now you have a home office within your unit, you have truly maximized your deductions across the board. You got anything for that, Dan?
Yeah, we're not tax professionals. Make sure you go see your accountant so they can help you do that the right way. Yes, it's 100% real. We do this all the time. It's great stuff. But make sure you see your accountant. If you need some an example or a referral for an accountant, check out a video we had with our accountant Nick Aola. It's a great episode, and he talks all through these different tax strategies that you can get while being an investor. And with that, I think that wraps it up. So the 4 that we have is the multifamily house hack, the single family house hack, adding a structure, i.e. Airbnb, camper, RV, tiny home, right? And then we got the last financial hack, using your home office as a taxable expense. So think that's it. Hey, if you guys got any questions in regards to anything that we talked about, make sure you leave a comment down below in the videos. If you're listening to this on YouTube, make sure you hit that notification bell. And if you're listening to this on podcast, make sure you leave us a review. We really appreciate those. Other than that, you got anything, Mike?
No, sir.
All right. This is Dan Wynn.
And Mike Glassman.
Signing off.